Hi, ladies. Okay, so we're going to practice today with starting with oils, and we're going to do that on Wednesday as well. Oils have a thin, um, well, they're pigment that's with oils binding the binding element is oil. In acrylic, the binding element is plastic. Um, with the oil, we know that they're going to stick around for hundreds of years, so it's a good idea to practice with them, to work with them, because they're again the mark that's going to last the longest. We're going to work directly on top of a magazine image, and I'll show you what I mean by that. It's a way of practice. It's a way of having light, medium, dark on the form. So let's switch video. Okay. So I have a palette. Excuse me. Here, the palette is made out of plexiglass. So it's a surface that's really nice and easily wipeable. I have my palette knife. I'm going to put out some colors in relation to this image right here, and we're going to practice mixing those colors. Now, oils and acrylic work in a slightly different way, but the color range is the same. You need a lot more white and a lot more yellow to make a difference to the red. Red is your power color. And so most of these colors look like they are black, brown, red, pink, right? And then some red on this side. And we're going to paint directly on this puppy. So let's mix the colors first. Another great thing about oils is that you don't need lots of them to make a huge difference. You'll have a tiny bit of oil goes a long way because it does flow a lot more than acrylics do, but it doesn't dry. It takes about a week to dry to the touch. So I'm going to take out a lot of my white. We have some yellow over there that I'll use for my color mixes. Then I'm going to take a tiny bit of my dark red, alizarin crimson, which you'll have in your case. And we're also going to take out some lighter red, which is more like it had like a little almost light orange. It's a cadmium red. I'm going to put that one down too. Just squeeze out of some from the tube. Now you're going to be squeezing these out into your white palettes, okay? Where you don't have any acrylic, because you don't want to mix the acrylic with the oils. They have a different drying temperature. And the other thing I'm going to take out is a little bit of black and maybe even some blue. Now, I talked about how the blue is very close to black, especially in oil. Those two are so close together that you can sometimes not tell them apart. Only when you spread them do you see the real color in them. Let's get started. So let's think about the lighter colors first. There's a pink here. It's a really, really light pink. So I'm going to take a tiny amount, and in oil, the tiny amount is again, smallest tip. And then lots of white. And you really have to pick up the paint and push it down in oils. It's, you want to really practice this kind of butter up. It really is, the oils are like butter. They have fat, the oil is the fat, right? So we're going to have some pink. I'm going to look, you can go back and forth, you can pick it up, make that color, and then double check it on your magazine image to see if it really fits. And it does, it's there in the areas. Now I need a little bit of a lighter color. So I'll mix a little bit more of that white. But you can also brighten it up so that I have these little highlights. Now, on the screen, because this pink is so close to white, it's almost reading like if it was white. But those are just the little tiny highlights that are there. Now, most of this puppy, you can also add a little yellow if you'd like to have it be a bit brighter. So white, yellow, to really get those light. You can see how much lighter that is in comparison to this pink. Okay, so those would be like super light spots on the top. But most of this puppy's red, right? So we're going to go into the reds now. You again have to make sure that your palette knife is clean, and I'm going to show you a red. So here I brought my rag, and you'll all have rags when we get to school to make sure that you can just wipe your palette knife with it. So most of the puppy is that red color, almost brown color. So let's mix this one first because it's a light red. That's over here by the ears. So it's kind of like this, right? That's close to it, but it is slightly lighter. So I'm going to take some of this white from here, mix a little bit into that. Now I will need quite a bit of that color. So I'll mix a little bit more. That's my light orange color. That really most of this dog is about that color, maybe a little bit darker. So we can add a little bit to get a little bit darker here. Or I can even combine my reds where I go take a little bit of red that is the warm, bright one, and then add this purple one. And that will just make it a little bit darker. Just like you were doing on the paper the other day, get it from light to dark. We want to have that on the palette before you start painting. So I need to make some of those brown colors. Now, brown is a nice color to mix from this light red, cadmium red, with a tiny bit of black in it. And it automatically goes into this really rich brown color. But you also will have brown, your sienna brown, which is very similar to that brown color. So that will be some of the top. And of course, there's a little bit of black left over. Now, because this doggy is so red, I want to have light, medium, dark, and I want to have plenty of that red in case I need to mix more again. So you're going to make a range of colors from light all the way to dark. I have my light colors, I have my middle colors here, and I have my dark colors up here. So now I'm ready to get painting. For oils, I will need a little bit of medium, and each of you please bring a jar with a lid to class if you're wanting to try oils out, right? Any kind of jam jar or honey jar or anything that you can just wash out. I'll give you a little bit of this medium. This medium is linseed oil with a little turpentine, and that helps the oils spread out. Otherwise, they're really, really sticky. So I'm going to get some brushes and we're going to paint our dog. So I have my range of brushes here from the small ones to the large ones. You're going to have, I'm going to bring some small ones to class. When you're doing details, you need some of the smaller ones. And you can start in either way. I'm just going to push my palette over a little bit. Have that. And then I'm going to put a little bit of that medium onto the palette. And again, if you can control the mess, wiping things as you go, the better it'll go. You can start with your dark colors or your light colors, but I wouldn't go from light to dark. I'm going to start with my lighter ones and mid-tones, actually, the middle colors first, then go into my lights, and then also go into my dark. So the mid colors are pretty much all over the place, and they're sort of with a big brush. So take this round, big brush, right, with my bright color there, and I can think about where is that color going? Because you're going to cover all of your puppy here, or you're going to choose whatever painting, of course, if you have a particular one that you'd like to try, and you're going to go right over over the canvas. I have some little red here. And what I mean by canvas is the magazine image. So you're going to go right on top, and it's going to give you the previous layer from the magazine. It's going to sit there. Okay, so it's like a roadmap. It's telling you where to go with those colors. So I see some red here. I see some red down here. I even see some red and getting into brown over here on this nose, right? And there's no such thing as a mistake. So you're going to be covering this over so you can really play with the texture and wiggle your brush around to get around whatever form you choose. Again, it could be a person, but it doesn't have to be. I also see that brown in the back here. So I'm going to go in and sort of dab my way. Before I go into my black that I really see, and all this brown is up here. So I'm going into my browns, sort of finding those colors. Where else do I see brown? I see brown over here into his ear. There are some browns at the bottom, but I'm going to change my brush because those are too little. And once you get that small, you need a smaller brush to work with. So I'm going to take a smaller round brush and again, dip it into my medium. I drift it over here. But I'm also going to put some more. So if you have a clean brush, you can dip into the medium, but if you make sure that it's super clean, otherwise it's going to taint and mix into your clean medium here. I'm going to take my brush, make sure that it's nice and flowing, and I can again go into my browns, but this time I can go into these little spots, just kind of dabbing them around. And because it's not the main, because this is sort of like a carpet or something that he's standing on, this puppy, you can sort of play with it, go around. Again, you paintbrush and your hand, how it moves, how much fun it has as you go dabbing around. I mean, that's part of the fun part of painting. I mean, if it's not fun, why would you do it? It has to be fun. I'm going to go from his eyes over here a little bit, going into a tiny bit of the other eye here, brown around his nose here. All right. So those are mid-range colors. Now you can, with a brown brush, right? Black will be darker. So you can go into your darker colors next. I'm just going to move my palette so that you can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to take my brown that I had, and I'm just going to add a little bit of black. Now you can also add a little bit of blue, and let me mix the color with a palette knife so that you can really see it. So I had my brown here, but here I'm going into sort of real black. So I can take some black with my brown and get it even darker all the way towards my black. Now I dipped it into a little white, so it's like gray, but that's okay. I'm also going to dab my brown into with blue, because blue is also quite dark, especially in oils. It's going to be really almost black, right? In the video, I mean, that looks black. So with that brush, even though it was brown first, I can go in colors and really get those darker colors, especially on this nose. Now, you don't want to leave any part of this painting without oil, right? Like the reason we're painting on an image is so that you can get used to making that form. But every part of that image should be touched with a little bit of paint. There's certainly tons of black here. For these smaller sections, you'll have a variety of small brushes, so you can choose the size brush that you like. But you're following that where light is, where medium is, and where dark is. Right? Some dark here. So you're just going to follow like it's if it was a map, like really like the previous color that's on from the magazine, you're just going to copy as best as you can. I'm going to mix some more dark. And dark with the blue. Again, it's like butter. You push it down, you pick it up, you push it down, you pick it up until there's no streaks in it. Okay, so those are my dark colors, and I can come in. Let's choose another brush. Another round, thin one. And we can go in. I think that's a leg down here, but it's so abstract, it's so fuzzy. The only thing that's really clear are the eyes, a little bit of the nose. But again, I want to dab the whole thing with paint Otherwise, it's not going to feel like a painting. It's still going to be a photograph. Maybe some of the edge here. And then I'm going to go in, and that eye here is really, really dark. So I want to get it in there. As is this one over here. Some dark lines in here. Right, just to get his fur in here. And around the nose. Now, what I haven't done yet is I haven't come in with my lights yet. So I have to be very careful because, of course, where dark has been, the lights are not going to mix. They're going to make gray. And I also have this lovely sort of dark red part. So I'm going to take a little bit of this alizarin crimson, which is a dark red. I'm going to come in with a little bit of dark red color. You can even come in, make them some of the hairs really. With a round brush, you can play around. You can wiggle it as you go. And I even see some sort of darker streaks over here and underneath the mouth here. And we can really get sort of, you can play with where you want to put that red. Now you can be a little kind of inventive, especially with the background, right? It doesn't have to be like it was before. It's not an image. It's really about your fun and joy and how you spread that paint around. Okay, so now that I have my darks in, it's time to get into the lights, but I can't use the same brushes. If you use the same brushes, you're never going to get those colors to get brighter because the dark colors are so overpowering. So you want to choose a new brush. You can again choose medium-sized brushes, small brushes for the detail, and maybe a few round brushes for the overall picture. If you run out of medium, I'll have plenty for you. So I just took some clean brush and got some more medium so that the paint has a chance to flow. Otherwise, it's going to be quite hard to kind of, and it'll be very thick. All right, so now we have the sort of pinky areas that are relatively light. So I'm going to go from the pink here and go around his ear. And again, you have to kind of match that color as best as you can to what the magazine image has. It won't be exact, but it's okay. So I have this orange going around his eye here. And then I have a couple of those sort of fur that goes everywhere in the light sections here, even here. And you'll feel once the brush kind of stops spreading the paint, here's the nose. I have a little bit of a hint of a nostril here. There it is. Of course, fur goes in all directions. That's kind of why I'm moving my brush and sort of everywhere. I also see a little bit of that pink, light, red color over here in the, if this is carpet, I have no idea, sort of a texture. And then I have some really nice details that I need to work into. And I have some light over here. This is part of the dog, maybe a foot or something. And now I have those little pinks areas. So a smaller brush, if you go into smaller detail, you want to make sure that you are getting smaller and smaller in your brushes. So I dipped it into a little bit of that pink here that I mixed. And I can even dip it into this orangey color just so that it relates to the previous color. And you have some pink color here around this eye, maybe over here. Again, fur. Right, and then some sort of dabbing all over the place. It's like a folded paper. All right, so here, even though we have, let me just scrap this. So you have the image underneath, but you've mixed your lights, your mediums, and your darks, and you go over the whole thing as if it's a painting, right? But using it as a map, a road map of where to go, where the light is hitting from, where's the medium that the light cannot go, and then where's the really dark section, the background, right? Because it makes the whole thing pop forward. So this is what we're doing on Wednesday. You're going to mix, you're going to first of all start with your oil paints. Please bring in maybe a pair of old socks to wipe your paints into, because oils are messy. Let me just switch camera lenses. Oil paints are very, very messy. They will get all over your clothes, all over your hands, and they're oil. So it's like, it's like when you're spreading butter, it's just going to get everywhere. So the best way to control that is to control the mess. Have a rag. We'll have some rags for you. I'll bring some old socks, but if you have any, please bring those. If you definitely, if I think I have about 5 of these, bring some jars. If it's a glass jar, the better, because it won't seep through the plastic. But if you have peanut butter jars, that's fine too. Anything that will hold, and especially with a top. It's not, it's the chemical, the linseed oil and the turpentine are odorless, but you still don't want to have, you want to cap it when you're not using it. You just use a little bit at a time anyway. And yeah, we have magazine images for us to paint on, so we'll have plenty of fun with that. And let me just double check. Let's go to my RCC together. I believe that is going to be it for today. Yeah, so this week we're focusing on, you can decide which section of the magazine you want to paint. You don't have to paint the entire image. You mix the colors from light to dark, and then you paint on top, directly on top of the image. So you'll see the image underneath. You'll know where to put the dark colors, where to put the medium colors, and where to put the light colors. Now, of course, the next step is taking that image, taking the image from the magazine, and then putting it on directly onto a canvas. But that's the next step. There's no homework until the following week, where you will be practicing this magazine painting on top of a magazine image, but we'll go into that, and we'll go into heads and hands. All right. So that gives you a little bit of preview where we're going. Thanks, ladies, for everything. And if you have any questions, please let me know. If you have any concerns, if you want to continue with the acrylics, that's fine. Those of you who want to be adventurous, I think opening up the oil paints is going to be exciting. All right. I will see you in class on Wednesday morning. Please send me today the image of your brown painting. Okay, the one that you did from light, medium to dark, because we need those grades in. That's our first assignment. Okay, be well, take care, and I will see you on Wednesday morning. Be well, everybody.